What does it take to win the fastest sport in the world when you're the oldest driver on the grid and your team haven't scored a point? F1 was shot by the team behind Top Gun Maverick, and it was shot for real at actual Grand Prix weekends. It promises the most immersive racing experience ever to be put on screen. The closest thing to strapping into a Formula One racing car without earning a super license. But does it actually deliver? Let's get into it. F1 drops you into the high-pressure world of Formula One racing. It follows Sonny Hayes, a driver whose F1 career ended in a car crash decades ago. Sonny returns for one last shot when an old friend asks him to race for a team that has never scored a point. He's paired with the team's cocky young rookie as they try to turn their season around. Brad Pitt leads as Sonny Hayes, with Damson Idris as the rookie Joshua Pierce. Kerry Condon plays the team's technical director, and Javier Bardem plays the old friend who runs the team, alongside a strong supporting cast. The big tension is survival, and the team needs results fast or it gets sold. And Sonny has to prove he still belongs at the top after all these years away. On top of that, he and his young teammate keep clashing, so a lot of drama comes from two big egos learning to work together. This is a single feature film, and a long one at around 2.5 hours. Saying that, it doesn't drag. The racing keeps the pace up and it flies by. It's built to be immersive, so it's worth watching it on the biggest screen and best sound you can get, not as background noise. Without spoiling it, the film builds to one final race where everything comes to a head. It's a fairly predictable, feel-good ending, but it earns its payoff and lands the emotional beats. For most viewers, it's a satisfying, crowd-pleasing finish rather than a surprising one. I think it's safe to say that for me, this movie is absolutely brilliant. I've watched it 3 times now, and every single time I watch it, I am completely locked in. It's built around one question: can a man that's already lost everything risk it all again? When Sonny's younger and he's up and coming, to be dubbed as almost one of the best, if not the best racing driver for Formula One. But his career is brought to an unfortunate end quite early on. For Sonny, coming back isn't ambition, it's unfinished business. That is what gives every race scene a weight beyond the sport. The Sonny and Joshua Pierce relationship is the actual story. The racing is the background. What the film is really about is two men that actually need each other but won't admit it. That's what keeps you watching between the action. Now, actually bringing Lewis Hamilton in was a statement of intent. This wasn't a cameo or some sort of off-the-cuff idea. It gives the film a raw and real perspective on Formula One that you just can't fake. It puts you inside the world, not just the races, but everything that goes on behind the scenes. The predictability is the point. You always know where it's going. But here's the thing. The film earns its ending step by step. So when it arrives, it lands. Top Gun Maverick did the exact same thing. The tension will have your anxiety going through the roof. And I've watched this film 3 times now, and it's done exactly the same thing to me every one of those 3 times. Every single race sequence, I was on the edge of my seat. The one thing with this movie though is it does go long. 2.5 hours, and you do feel the stretch. I think if they trimmed it down a little, it could have been even better. The climax is genuinely insane. Battling it out against Hamilton in the final race, his car comes across as feeling like an absolute monster. You feel the uncharted territory that Sonny and Joshua Pierce are in, and you simply just can't fake that. I think the characters are strong, but honestly, this is Sonny's film through and through, and the rest of the cast know it. This film is packed with arcs, and every one of them lands. Sonny and Joshua Pierce start as rivals, grow closer, fall out, and then finally they break through. The film goes from talented individuals with no chemistry to something that actually works. That journey runs the full length of the film. For me, honestly, Brad Pitt was born to play Sonny Hayes. Charismatic, reckless, and carrying something that he just can't put down. You buy him as a driver at the very start. That's not a given. Saying that though, Sonny Hayes is a mystery when you first meet him, and I think that's the right call. His backstory comes out bit by bit, arriving at exactly the right moments. It never feels forced, it never leaves a gap, and always leaves you wanting more. The really cool thing that I like is that Sonny isn't chasing a comeback, he's chasing a feeling. He wants to fly again. And believe you me, I thought that was strange, but then when he goes into explaining it, it actually sounds great and makes a lot more sense. What I also like about it is that's what stops him from just being another cliche. Joshua Pierce comes in with full ego, and you're supposed to dislike him. Cocky, arrogant, difficult, but his arc pulls you around completely by the end, and I feel that's genuinely hard to write. Damson Idris holds his own against Brad Pitt. Ruben Cervantes is introduced from a position of weakness and ends in glory. Javier Bardem makes that feel real. You follow him across the whole film, and the payoff lands. Cashman, and I have to say one of my favourites, is definitely underrated in this movie. Constantly pushing in the wrong direction and constantly pulling Joshua Pierce off course. But his character adds something different, definitely a different type of entertainment factor. Small role, real friction. Kerry Condon is doing more with less than anyone else in the cast. We get some of the story about her divorce and how she came to be with the team, but that's about it. The reason I'm highlighting this is because I feel that her character was really valuable. I do think she played an important role and they did explore elements of her character, but I think there was huge potential in where they could have taken her character as opposed to where they actually left things and developed her character. And I definitely think they should have gone further with her. I know I've called out Kerry specifically, but the same could be said for the rest of the characters. They go deepest with Sonny, and you fill the gap with everyone else. Kerry Condon and Javier Bardem are both strong, but you're just left wanting more from them. And that's fair. What I will say though is including all of the real drivers is a major statement. It gives everything something real that a made up cast just wouldn't have been able to give you. I think the visual experience is on another level. It's a huge part of what makes the film work as a complete package. The racing looks like nothing you've seen in a sports film before. Shot at real Grand Prix weekends with real cars on actual circuits. That's not CGI, that's the real thing. And you can literally feel the difference when watching. The camera work sets the tone from the very start. The opening follows Sonny as he's walking in, and it was at this moment for me when I knew this was going to look different. The other thing that they really do well is the close-up shots, because it actually makes you feel like you're the one in the driving seats driving the Formula One car. The behind the scenes stuff that I'm going to call it, because I don't know what else to call it, is genuinely impressive. I say this because it's not just races that we're seeing. They show you the technology that goes into building the cars, the F1 simulators, and everything that goes on in the background that we might not really get to see. Ultimately, it's stuff that you wouldn't see on TV. Now, I was thinking whether or not I should put this next point that I'm about to make in, and I almost didn't, but I do actually think that it plays quite a nice role for what it's supposed to do for the movie. The pub scene is a small moment that really lands. 1 minute you're in the high life of Formula One. The next you're in an ordinary pub. That contrast gives you a different type of connection into the characters. The product placement in this movie is constant, but it works. If it's not Heineken, it's Sonny's watch. And if it's not Sonny's watch, it's Joshua Pierce's watch. It's everywhere, it's constant, it's relentless. But it adds to how real the world feels, rather than taking you out of it. Sonny's deck of cards is one of those details that sticks with you. You see this obsession run through the whole film. By the end of it, you're wondering what that final card actually is. That's the mark of good detail. You know the Drive to Survive TV show? Well, that was dropped in there too. And it was clever. The way they weave it in through the nerdy owner is subtle but smart. It ties the film to the real F1 world, which feels natural. The driving angry sequence is the moment that everything comes together. The music, the camera, the movement, all at the same time. That sequence alone is worth the watch. The sound of the cars alone is worth the price of the ticket. The engine noise, the team radio, the crowd. When a car goes past, you feel it. That's separate from the soundtrack and just as impressive. I mean, the soundtrack is a full experience on its own. Burna Boy's Don't Let Me Down, Lose My Mind with Doja Cat, and Roddy Ricch's Underdog. These aren't background music. They hit. I mean, after my first time watching this film, I went straight back to get the soundtrack so that I could add it to my music. I watched this on my TV and it looked incredible all 3 times. I can only imagine what it looks like in IMAX. Now, something new that I wanted to add into the Binge Watcher Hub reviews is something that I call behind the frame. And that's a moment in each review where we stop and pause, take a step back and look under the hood. No pun intended. So stepping behind the frame for F1, there are some great hidden facts that I want to call out. The cars aren't actually F1 cars. Under the bodywork, they're modified 2022 spec Formula 2 cars, dressed up to look like the real thing. Damson Idris and Brad Pitt did all of their own driving, reaching speeds of up to 180 miles per hour. They trained in Formula 3 and Formula 2 cars to start, and the G-force that we're actually seeing is real. Now, I thought this next one was actually kind of mind-blowing. A lot of the in-car shots were actually filmed on what are basically iPhones. Apple and Sony spent about 2 years building out these tiny custom cameras that could withstand the heat of F1 cars so that they could put them in there to film the scenes. One of the Sony cameras actually got nicknamed Carmen, and this was about half the size of the rig that was used in the film Top Gun Maverick. Not only that, but one of the onboard ones were built around an actual iPhone camera sensor. How mad is that? Now, this next one I thought was crazy as well. They filmed during real Grand Prix weekends as a fake number 11 team. Across the 23 and 24 season, they had their own garage and paddock and went out on the track during the breaks. They even shot a fake podium at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix with Charles Leclerc and George Russell. Lewis Hamilton is one of the producers, and that's why it feels so real. Get this. Getting permission took over a year of talks with the FIA and all 10 teams, and Red Bull were actually worried about being made out to be the bad guys. Sonny's whole backstory as a character is built on real F1 history. His character raced for Lotus and crashed at the 93 Grand Prix, which ended his career for 30 years. And Joshua's crash mixes 2 real ones. Alex Peroni's flip at Monza in 2019 and Romain Grosjean's fireball in Bahrain in 2020. Now, this one I absolutely love. The deck of cards, Sonny's deck of cards, actually has meaning behind it. Sonny takes a card from the deck before every race and puts it in his pocket without looking at it. He never looks at it until the end of the race. The director says the card itself doesn't actually matter. It's about Sonny letting go of his superstition and actually taking control. Fans reckon that Sonny drew the 7 of spades for his final race. And this is because of the badge on his suit. F1 is now the highest grossing sports movie that's ever been made. Over $600 million worldwide. It's Apple's biggest film, it's Brad Pitt's biggest film, and the biggest cinema release any streaming service has ever made. Overall, I think F1 worked for me because it's so much more than a racing movie. It's a proper underdog story with real weight, characters you actually care about, and a visual experience that puts you right inside the sport. The moment that struck me the most in this film is the driving angry sequence. Everything hits at once. The music, the camera, the movement. And that's the point where the whole movie just clicks into place. When I put it all together, I think F1 did definitely work for me. The story, the characters, the visuals all deliver on what the film promises. My one real gripe is that they keep the history at a high level. You get enough for context, but they never actually go deeper, and you are left with some real questions. What actually happened between Sonny and Ruben? And how did Joshua claw his way into Formula One? So is F1 worth the watch? That's an easy yes for me. Whether you live and breathe Formula One or you've never seen a single race, this one pulls you in and doesn't let go. It's not perfect, but it's brilliant to watch. And like I said, I've gone back and watched it 3 times now. That tells you everything. F1 is for crowd-pleasing sports dramas that go deeper than the sport itself. If you like Top Gun Maverick, you've got the same directors, same formula with F1. A comeback story built around legacy and one last shot at greatness. If you liked Ford versus Ferrari, racing that feels real with characters you actually care about. If you're looking for something that doesn't require you to know anything about F1, this one pulls you in regardless. Trust me. I give the F1 movie a 4 out of 5 buckets. Now it's your turn. If you've already seen F1, what did you think? Did it live up to your expectations or did it miss the mark? And if you haven't checked it out yet, does it sound like something that you would binge? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Every week, I watch it so you don't waste your nights finding out the hard way. Subscribe and you'll never have to guess. Until next time, happy binge watching.